The sun was setting as my friends and I embarked on what was meant to be an epic road trip, a journey to celebrate the end of our college years and the beginning of a new chapter in our lives. Little did we know that this road trip would become a haunting ordeal, forever etched in our memories as a disturbing true horror story that tested our friendship, sanity, and very survival. The plan was simple: a cross-country adventure that would take us through scenic routes, quirky roadside attractions, and hidden gems of the American landscape. Our group consisted of 4 friends: Sarah, the adventure seeker; Mark, the laid-back jokester; Emma, the practical planner; and me, Alex, the thrill seeker. We piled into Mark's beat-up minivan, ready for a journey filled with laughter and unforgettable memories. The first few days of the trip were a whirlwind of excitement. We visited roadside diners, explored national parks, and camped under the starry night sky. The camaraderie was strong, and our spirits were high as we drove through picturesque landscapes, capturing every moment with our cameras and making memories that we thought would last a lifetime. But as we ventured deeper into the heartland of the country, the atmosphere began to change. The skies grew overcast, and a sense of unease settled over us. It started with small things: odd sounds from the minivan's engine, sudden changes in weather, and inexplicable shadows that seemed to flit at the corner of our vision. One evening, as we pulled into a quaint town to refuel and rest, we noticed something eerie. The locals seemed distant and wary, avoiding eye contact as they hurried about their business. It was as if they were hiding something, an unspoken secret that hung in the air like a thick fog. Despite the unsettling vibe, we decided to spend the night at a seemingly charming bed and breakfast on the outskirts of town. The innkeeper, a frail woman with sunken eyes, greeted us with a forced smile that did little to mask her unease. As we settled into our rooms, I couldn't shake the feeling that we were being watched, that unseen eyes were studying our every move. That night, as we lay in our beds, an eerie silence enveloped the inn. The air was heavy with tension, and the shadows seemed to dance with a life of their own. Just as I was drifting into sleep, I heard a faint whisper, a disembodied voice that sent shivers down my spine. "Leave, before it's too late." I sat up, heart pounding, my senses on high alert. The voice was chilling, its urgency palpable. I glanced around the dimly lit room, but there was no one there. The walls seemed to close in, and the air grew suffocating. I wanted to wake my friends, to tell them what I had heard, but a sense of dread kept me frozen in place. The next morning, I shared my experience with the group. Emma scoffed, dismissing it as a trick of the imagination. Sarah, however, looked visibly disturbed, her eyes haunted by a flicker of doubt. Mark cracked a joke, trying to lighten the mood, but even his usual humor fell flat in the face of the growing unease. As we continued our journey, the sense of foreboding intensified. Strange occurrences became more frequent, the minivan's radio tuning itself to static, unusual detours on the GPS, and inexplicable temperature drops that sent chills down our spines. It was as if the very fabric of reality was unraveling around us, and we were helpless passengers on a terrifying ride. One night, while camping in a remote forest, we heard distant whispers, voices that seemed to echo through the trees. We huddled together, fear gnawing at our hearts, as the whispers grew louder, more urgent. It was as if a chorus of unseen entities was trying to communicate, their words a jumble of emotions and fragmented phrases. "We warned you. Danger. Leave." The forest seemed to close in around us, the trees looming like silent sentinels. Shadows danced in the periphery of our vision, and a sense of impending doom settled over us. Sarah, always the boldest of us, suggested we pack up and leave immediately. And so, in the dead of night, we abandoned our campsite, the echoes of the whispers still ringing in our ears. Days turned into nights, and the road trip that had started with so much promise had become a nightmare we couldn't wake from. Our bond, once unbreakable, began to fray as paranoia and fear took hold. Arguments erupted over trivial matters, and even the sight of a passing car would send us into a panic. One evening, as we sought refuge in a desolate motel, the events took a sinister turn. We checked into separate rooms, the tension between us palpable. My room was dimly lit, the air heavy with the scent of decay. As I sat on the bed trying to shake off the feeling of being watched, I noticed something peculiar, a series of faded photographs on the dresser. Curiosity got the better of me, and I picked up the photographs. They depicted scenes that sent a chill down my spine. A group of people, their faces contorted in agony, their eyes vacant. The backdrop was always the same, a desolate road stretching into darkness. As I flipped through the photographs, a sinking realization dawned on me. These were snapshots of the previous guests who had stayed in this very room. The anguish on their faces was haunting, and I couldn't shake the feeling that their fates were intertwined with our own. The sound of a distant scream jolted me from my thoughts. I rushed to the window, my heart racing, and saw Mark and Emma standing in the motel's parking lot, their faces etched with terror. They were staring at something I couldn't see, their eyes wide with horror. Without hesitation, I rushed out of the room, my mind a whirlwind of fear and adrenaline. As I joined them in the parking lot, I saw it. A shadowy figure, tall and looming, standing just beyond the reach of the flickering motel lights. Its presence was suffocating, its aura malevolent. "Get in the car, now!" Sarah's voice pierced through the darkness, her urgency driving us into action. We piled into the minivan, the engine roaring to life as Mark peeled out of the parking lot. The shadowy figure watched us, its gaze following us until we were nothing but a blur on the desolate road. As we drove through the night, our minds reeling from the encounter, we shared our experiences. The whispers, the shadows, the unexplainable events that had plagued our road trip. It was then that Sarah revealed the truth. The town we had encountered at the beginning of our journey was known for its dark history, a history of unexplained disappearances and eerie occurrences. We were caught in the grip of something beyond our understanding, something that defied the laws of logic and reason. The road trip, meant to be a celebration, had become a fight for our lives. We knew we couldn't escape whatever malevolent force was pursuing us, but we refused to be its victims. As dawn broke, we found ourselves on the outskirts of a seemingly abandoned town. The buildings were derelict, the streets empty. The air was heavy with an oppressive silence, broken only by the sound of our own ragged breaths. It was a town frozen in time, a place where the past and present collided in a nightmarish tableau. And then, as if on cue, the whispers returned, a chorus of voices that seemed to emanate from the very walls. The town itself seemed to come alive, shadows converging and dancing in the corners of our vision. We knew we were surrounded, that there was no escape from the malevolent force that had pursued us across the country. In a final act of desperation, we huddled together and chanted, our voices a defiant symphony against the encroaching darkness. As our voices rose, the shadows seemed to retreat, the air growing lighter. And then, with a blinding flash, the town itself seemed to dissolve, as if it had never existed. We found ourselves back on the open road, the sun rising on a new day. The memories of the nightmarish town were hazy, as if they were fading into the recesses of our minds. As we drove in silence, the minivan's radio crackled to life, playing a song that we had heard on the first day of our road trip. It was a reminder that our journey, though haunted by darkness, had also been filled with moments of camaraderie and joy. The road trip that had started as a celebration of our friendship had become a test of our resilience and unity. And as we continued driving, the memories of the disturbing true horror story we had lived through would forever be etched in our hearts, a testament to the unbreakable bond that had carried us through the darkest of times.